Welcome to another edition of Trigger Point Research Setups, where we look for positions that have the opportunity to break up or break down, but are not quite ripe just yet. And if you remember, over the last few days, we talked about Newmont Mining, which, since we talked about the breakdown last week, is down 3%. And more importantly, Questcore. 1 week ago on June 5th, we talked about it as an idea for a breakup, that it was starting to set up and starting to look like this potential. Well, from that date till now, we're just talking about 7 days, about 6 trading days. It's up 30%. Broke out dramatically. The short interest was squeezed, and that really was playing very well. Now, again, not all of these setups will actually come to fruition, where there will be an alert sent out to the Trigger Point Research Equity Alert subscribers, but this is just a discussion that we are looking at some of these positions and showing you some of the potential that is out there. Now, what we're going to talk about today is Texas Capital Bank shares, and what I want you to focus in on is that if you look at this chart, this is a daily chart of Texas Capital Bank shares, you'll notice it's pretty erratic. As a matter of fact, when you look at this, you can see that there are some very significant areas that would probably be, well, questionable. For example, this gigantic move on the downside in the beginning of the year from about 47 down to about 42, that was relatively dramatic. Then you have over in the end of April, another dramatic move where you have long tails on your candles, and you see that there was this crazy kind of movement, and then a couple of different patterns that you may be able to pick up, that if you were looking at this, the potential for a I guess we would call this maybe maybe it's a possible head and shoulders that worked out a bit. You got some shoulders here. Is an inverted on the one in May. But other than that, well, you could probably also notice that you have a series of higher lows generally in this channel. You can draw a couple of channels here. But again, it doesn't really show us anything, because if we do and stretch a line all the way from here, it's not the best line in the world, there's some resistance that you could see, and there's definitely something that you could tell from this. But let's kind of turn on some of the things that we want to look at. This is our X-ray. Remember we talked about this? This is where we could see where the buying and selling pressure is, where there's really no volume, no real buyers of interest. And right now there is a good amount of support at about the 44 range. If you look at this, and we see that when you look at the 44 range, right about, let's see where we got, right about here. I'll move that down a little bit to here. These levels right here. In between there is a little bit of resistance, but when you look at that, there is definitely support if the stock can withstand it. As a matter of fact, you saw that there was this level of support at about 44. That was consistent with where the bulk of the action is here. And if you look back a few on the X-rays, you can see there was some level of support there. Now I want to go backwards for a second. Let's take a look at this weekly, because the weekly is pretty interesting to look at. Now when we look at the weekly, what you can see is it's been a straight shot up from October of 2011, and then kind of started playing down a bit in October of 2012, and then moved to where we are now. And the question is, what kind of thing is setting up here? Well, we know that it's been a general uptrend, and it broke that trend back in October. But again, moving back to the daily for a second, what I really want to show you is something. When we take a look at the actual levels of interest on a daily basis, we can see that over about $45 is where we want to look at for the potential for a breakout. So we're looking at this range here, because if you look to the left here, there's a giant opening here, and there's no significant amount of volume. So we're going to be looking for this to start breaking out about above the 45.15 area, 45.20, somewhere around that. But again, that's not a definitive. We'll look at that and see if there's something more that we can see inside of here. The other thing I want to do is switch back really quickly and show you this. If you look at this on a weekly basis now, you can see that there is support, and the potential for a breakout is there. So if you want to become a subscriber, there's a 14-day free trial that you can do over at Trigger Point Research, and we will actually have some breaking down candidates coming this Thursday. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for Trigger Point Research, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.